Hello and welcome to another episode of the Get At It Gaming Podcast. My name is Ben,
I'm Alex.
and we are your bi-weekly nerdy podcast with video games, movies, anime, you name it, we will talk about it, and we talk about what we want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
This is our bi-weekly podcast, so this podcast is going to come out um, actually tomorrow. And it'll be on every podcast service, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Amazon. We will be on those there. A video version, if you want to check us out, will come later in the week on YouTube. So definitely, we're on a big spree here to try and get more followers on Spotify and on YouTube. So definitely check those out and hit those follow, like buttons. Those do a lot for us here. But today we're going to talk about a movie, and I had to make up for the China O'Brien that I made Alex watch 1 and 2. um, Today we're going to talk about this. I'm gonna hold this up, and what am I holding up? This is a signed Blu-ray of Onyx the Fortuitous in the Talisman of Souls. Very excited about this. We're gonna kind of like go through a lot with this movie. We're gonna give a review score on this. The first part is going to be more about like what the movie's about, um, and there. But when we start getting into the things that are spoiler ish, we'll let you know. This will have some definitely spoilers as we talk about it here. Um, yeah, are you excited for this one? Now, before we get started, I am sorry about China O'Brien one.
No, you're not.
I don't know why I love that film so much. Do you know what the bad thing is? My good friends, like the two people I hung out all the time with, I made them watch those. I was not a good friend.
At least you finally figured it out. Took how many years?
I mean, this could be why they don't talk to me very much. that could be that could be it.
Yeah.
Um, so so this movie came out in 2023. Onyx the Fortuitous is a character by Andrew Bowser. I am not kidding on the name. So he was a character that he had some short videos on YouTube, but he was also part of the Nerdist crew, and he had a show on there where he played Onyx, and they did reviews and stuff like that. So this character is hilarious, very antisocial, a funny like character in general. But
Mm-hmm.
this movie is about him.
Yeah.
And so this movie is about uh, Onyx, and he gets invited to his mentor, who is Bartok the Great. That they are going to do this satanic ritual. He's one of 5 people that get invited, and this is like the adventure that takes place here. Now, this was a Kickstarter movie. He had the idea that and I would employ everybody to go check out his videos. There was an Arby's video that it was about somebody that had a problem at Arby's and it got crazy. He edited himself in there as an Arby's employee. Um, it's it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
This character. He also, if you look him up, Onyx the Fortuitous, he likes to edit himself in things. There's a Hot Ones that he edited himself. There's one where he edits himself with Joe Rogan.
Oh my God.
Um, it's super hilarious. This character is hilarious. He is very much like a loner, doesn't have any friends. Um, his doesn't like his mom's boyfriend. That's a hilarious thing there. Um, but yeah, this movie was a Kickstarter movie that he did. It is a horror, I want to say horror comedy, dark comedy. There's some pretty dark things in here, but the thing that I want to say is any of the effects, like the creature effects or whatever, they're all practical.
Mm-hmm.
There's no big CGI or anything like that. Um, I mean, I know I'm probably leaving some stuff in there, but Alex, what were your kind of like initial like about the movie, you think?
Um, I don't like to shame other movies on in public, I guess. Um, but I mean, I guess I will. Sure. Um, I when I watched this film, after I watched this film, I talked to you the next day, and I basically said that this movie has no right being as good as it is. Um, and my expectations were very low for this film. Um, I have seen, God, I love that light. It's just shining in my face. Um, I have seen similar movies, or I in my mind, I was comparing this to the Angry Video Game Nerd movie.
Yes.
That's the first thing I thought of was, okay, this is a movie that's based on an internet meme man who has a show, who has um, a fan base already, and just has the money and the means to make a film. And so I thought this was going to be an Angry Video Game movie all over again. Pleasantly surprised it's not, because I do not like the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. I There's a lot of reasons why I don't like that, but we're not going to talk about that here. But with this film, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Just how funny, like uniquely funny and genuinely funny this movie could be. Um, and it did grab my attention. Like I was kind of just watching it to watch it, you know, like initially, because like I knew we were going to talk about it. I knew you wanted to talk about it, so I was like, yeah, I'll watch it and see how it goes. The movie basically, I want to say, like it almost immediately hooked me. Um,
Yeah.
I want to say like the maybe a little during or after his job is like when it started to get me. There are some things in this movie I don't like as well, so don't get me wrong that like this movie isn't all sunshines and rainbows for me, but like overall, yeah, I enjoyed my time with this. I'd watch this again. I would show other people this movie, definitely.
Yeah.
um I think this is a movie that my dad would like, honestly, because he's into horror, but he's also into stupid comedies, and so I really think that he would enjoy this film, especially how he talks like this. Like I don't know if he just get really annoyed by Onyx himself, um, but yeah, it's Onyx himself is such a character actor, such a character. Um, that I can't imagine the movie without him. I am
Yeah.
looking at some of these reviews and stuff, how um how they hate his voice, and they're like giving the movie like bad like reviews because they hate Onyx's voice. And it's like that's the point, guys. Just
Yeah.
deal with it.
Yeah. I think the other thing is like if you watch his videos, a lot of the things, the little quirks he has, one of the things is he's like when he's talking, he goes, I don't know. Like that's his thing. And like they actually explain in the movie why he says that. I love his little quirks and some of the things that happened here. You compare it to that, I compare it to Army of Darkness.
Yeah,
So it's got that Army of Darkness feel where you're not going to take it like super super duper serious. Um, you know, there's not as many great taglines as Army of Darkness, but it still has that feel of, kind of quirky, funny horror comedy, dark comedy. Um, and the one thing I will say is we talked about the Angry Video Game Nerd. I felt that that movie looked cheap. Okay, I'm gonna come out and say it. This felt like a full blown independent film. The videography was great. Um, locations were great. I felt like the Angry Video Game Nerd relied too much on green screen, and this was like actual locations and actual spots and stuff like that. And
mm-hmm.
for me, that's a big, huge thing because you could do an independent film and you can do these things, but you got to do them right. And I felt like this is where it's at. So I also want to kind of say, so Andrew Bowser, he not only wrote, directed, and starred in this film, but I mean that's like three roles for one film.
Yeah,
Um, Onyx is his character, and he had been around for a while doing either writing or directing. And like I said, he was part of the Nerdist crew where he had a show as Onyx,
yeah,
um, which is pretty crazy. I want to kind of go through some of the top cast here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's some crazy people in this movie. So let's just start off with horror icons, Jeffrey Combs. So anyone that's not sure who that is, Jeffrey Combs was in a movie called The Reanimator, and The Reanimator, that is a cult classic in horror movies. Barbara Crampton, who was also in Reanimator, is in this film as well. Um, it's pretty crazy that these two people aren't in here, but TC Carlson's in it,
Mm-hmm.
who was in Living Single, but also was the voice of Kratos for a good amount of time. Um, we had a girl from School of Rock in this movie. Um, Adrian Murrin, I hope I'm saying her name correct. I was just telling Alex that she's in this film. I just saw her on the last season of The Mighty Gemstones.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one more person I want to talk about, not until we do the spoiler stuff, because that's the only way to spoil this. And I think you know what I'm talking about here. But I mean, for the cast of this movie, it's pretty crazy that there's so many people in it. Um, and everyone does a really, really good job. I didn't feel like it was overacted. I didn't feel like there, and I want to make sure everyone knows I don't think this was a perfect film.
No.
I've watched this film like 6 times.
My God.
Okay. I have my films that I watch several times. If you ask Alex right now, he could probably name at least one or two documentaries I probably have watched several times, or movies, because they're like my favorite movie to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just last weekend, I watched Ocean's 13 for probably the 50th time. Don't know. Love it. Um, like you said before, like watchability is pretty high on this.
Yeah.
Will you watch this movie again with other people to be like, hey, you guys gotta check this movie out?
Um, I don't know. So like, here's the thing. Like, yes, the closest person who I would probably suggest this to again is probably my dad. Um, but I don't think I have other friends who would actually enjoy this movie for what it is. I think they would be too annoyed by too many things, and this is just not their humor. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, like this is definitely it feels like a movie that was made for my dad. Like I think he would think it's stupid and fun. Um, like or people. I don't know. I don't know if this is like the same type of like person, but I would say it's kind of not similar to Nirvana the band, the show humor, but like it's adjacent enough to where I feel like if you like that show, you'll probably like this movie. It is a different type of genre, but just like the awkwardness of the things of about it and just the comedy. Um, I feel like those two types of fans would either be the same or get along well.
yeah. I definitely think it's got its quirks with it. Um, my wife would not watch this because of him saying, I don't know, like a lot, or his and we can get later into like where the spoiler parts is when they find out who they are.
Yeah.
That kind of drug out a little bit of like there was some parts that drug out, but I do like number one, I love independent films.
Yeah.
Um the Kickstarter, I heard the Kickstarter happened so quickly and it was funded so quick.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's the Blu-ray here that I got that's signed. So I'm showing the signed Blu-ray. This is the edition. There's a lot of different things like that I watch on here, like director's commentary and stuff like that. Um, but I thought like the story was pretty good. It took that character that was doing memes or short videos or whatever, and it brought him in there. He doesn't have any friends. Um, he wants to. He's very goth like,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of think he makes fun of like the goth community a little bit with being awkward and things like that. But like, I think the thing I loved the most was each character that was in the movie. Like, obviously, we were talking about some of the characters. So he has bullies and stuff like that. He works a job that he's very good at his job, but um, just not appreciated. And um, so I think that kind of just being like that loser man, you want him to succeed, right? You want him to be the hero or whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, the parts, this isn't really a spoiler, it's in the trailer. So his mom's step husband, it's Onyx's stepdad, is hilarious. The short exchange those two have there feels very like stepbrother-ish or like Will Ferrell movie.
Hmm.
That felt great. Um, you know, it's definitely like that type of humor, but then it gets dark humor later.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, do you, without spoiling it yet, because we're getting close to that. I mean, was there something like particular you saw in it you just kind of like had a good laugh over?
Um, yes, I feel like they're later. Um, but I mean, I guess in the beginning, I would say like when he's like making his food, like you said, he's really good at his like fast food job, and he's like, "All right, it's good to go," and then he's like, "Wait, check the weight on it," and they're like, "What? You're one fry short," and then he like has to like throw it.
Yeah. And
Um,
the other guy's looking at him like, why do you even care?
yeah, exactly. Um, the name tag business at that place was pretty funny. How he just his name tags are just funny names because they never like commissioned to like buy him an actual name tag with his name. Um, but there are a lot of like things that like legitimately made me laugh in this film. More so like later, like once they're actually in the mansion and doing after the contest and all of that, which is more in spoiler territory, I would say. But yeah, no, this movie did make me laugh quite a few times, which
Yeah.
again can't really say that for an angry video game nerd movie.
No, I really do want to rewatch Angry Video Game Nerd. And also let us know if you want us to do like a review like this. It's been out for a while now, but here's the thing:
It's like
I'm not paying to watch.
2012 or something.
Yeah, I'm not paying to watch it, so it has to be free somewhere.
It's not.
Um, so we'll do some research. But let's. So at this point now, we're going to definitely jump into some spoiler things here. If you're not wanting to, you could fast forward to the end. We're definitely going to get into some spoiler territory. I think these are good spoilers that you still need to watch the movie. So one of the top casts is Goofy's son himself plays a box demon, which this is practical. It's very much well done puppet, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
was telling this to Alex, and Alex is like, no way. But now it makes sense. Jason Marston, is it Marston? That's how you say his last name?
Jason Marsden. Yeah.
Yes. He plays the demon box voice,
Yeah.
um, which is pretty hilarious because the only time you really see it is when Onyx gets to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
So like looking at the cast, there's some really great people in this movie. I was looking at Todd, Onyx's stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking him up on IMDb, right? Um, get this, you'll love this. So he was on an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Huh.
But for the most part, he's had like one or here and there or some voice work. He was freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, you know, there, but I really want to kind of jump into more of like spoilers and stuff. um, it's funny. So like Bartok's character, I had to look him up because I'm like, God, where do I know this guy from? I could not tell that was Jeffrey Combs until I looked it up.
Yeah.
Um,
Because how he
so
looks and everything
yeah,
with his beard and the all the stuff that he has on him. Yeah.
so one of the parts I want to talk about is they each get cut other hand. They put it in the book of so the whole thing is Bartok really has these people to get the talisman. Um, he wants to get the talisman of souls so he can live forever, right? And these five people are going to be sacrifices to get this. Um, the crazy thing is they got to cut their hand. and bleed on the book. Um, and the book will say who they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one person was the queen, one person was the Viking, one was a werewolf, one was a witch. But then they get to Onyx, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he's the virgin. And this is why I had to laugh. The picture they drew in the book, everyone's got really cool pictures, right?
Yeah.
And they open it and it's like a big overweight guy and like the women are throwing up.
Yeah, it's just a
Uh,
caricature of him.
yeah. But this is the part where you can really kind of tell like that whole thing, him being pissed off he was a virgin, really dragged on
Mm-hmm.
in the movie. I don't know if you thought that. Um, I was like, this is really dragging on. I think it dragged on for a good amount of the movie, him being pissed off.
Yeah, it kind of did. Also for video watchers, the video's going in and out for you, Ben. So just kind of FYI, or it's like slowing down and fast forwarding. We can still hear you though. But yeah, I agree. But I also agree that um, what do you call it? Everyone's prophecy, like their other selves, went on for a long time just to hammer in the virgin joke.
Yeah,
Because they had the whole, oh, we all had dreams last night. What was your dream? Oh, I dreamed I was a werewolf. I was looking at the moon and I turned into a wolf. Or I dreamed that I was a witch. I dreamed I was a Viking. Oh, we all had these prophetic dreams and all of that. And then Onyx is like, oh well, I dreamed I wasn't getting laid, so I guess that means I'm the fat virgin, huh? And he's just so mad that he doesn't. I guess it's not that he's mad that he's the virgin. It's mad that he doesn't like have a cool background or whatever.
yeah,
And like I do agree that the joke did kind of get hammered in a little too much. But I think it was more of the prophecy stuff in general was getting hammered in too much, that you had to talk about that joke, otherwise it just didn't work well. Granted, he did bring it up a few times like later on or whatever, but like yeah, it was a little much, I would say. But I mean, it works for the character to get hung up on something
yeah,
like that. So
yeah. Also happening at this moment is the characters, they're turning into ghouls, right?
mm-hmm.
At the very beginning, they were given these talismans. It's supposed to cleanse them for coming in. Really, what they were doing is it hid the fact that they were ghouls. And we talk about practical effects. They all look great in there. You obviously can
Yeah.
kind of tell it's a puppet, but the effects look really good. Uh, my favorite scene is where Onyx just gets so upset and he starts drinking,
Mm-hmm.
and he's never really drank before, and he can actually see the ghouls because he's not wearing his thing.
Yeah.
Uh, so at this point, a lot of his friends that he's made are turning into these ghouls, and they're working for Bartok and Farah. And Farah is the one that's helping Bartok get the talisman and all this, but she has like a hidden agenda as
Mm-hmm.
well. And so it's very much like you think it's Bartok's the bad guy when it's really um Farah that's the bad, you know. They're
Mm-hmm.
both bad. But it's kind of cool because like you start seeing the ghouls look like the characters.
Yeah.
Um, at this time as well, Mr. Duke is figuring out, oh crap, this is what's happening. So we need to be on our guard, but then he gets turned to a ghoul. So basically, it's Mac and Onyx who are left to try and figure this out. Um, it's very close to the part where you figure out that Onyx is the chosen one, even though he's the virgin.
Yeah.
He is the chosen one, and it kind of like goes between. Oh, I have to bring up one point. He does a Meatloaf song. I do anything for love, but I won't do that, which is hilarious. Um, it's super hilarious because that video, and Alex may not remember this, that video that Meatloaf did, he looked like it was like a Beauty and the Beast thing.
Yeah.
And they made Andrew look like the Beast, like with the makeup and stuff. But he's singing that song with the piano. It looks like straight from the 80s.
Oh yeah, and then Farah is in it as well because he's talking to Farah in his dreams, and she looks like Gadget from Rescue Rangers.
Yeah, I know, right? Because his fantasy is that character from Rescue Rangers. He's got some weird fantasy with her.
Yeah.
But like, I think at this point the movie's going pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the runtime. I don't even know what the runtime is, but
It's
I
about
don't
two
think it.
hours.
Yeah, it didn't feel like 2 hours to me.
No.
And that is a good thing of a movie. Of when you're watching it, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was watching the new Captain America, and there's one part I'm like, how much do we have left?
Mm-hmm.
I liked it, but it was like, God, this is dragging.
So I felt with
I didn't feel like
Superman
this
3 a couple
movie.
days ago.
Yeah, I don't feel like the movie was dragging on, something
Yeah.
like that. And then it's over, and you're like, holy crap, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've kind of talked about some of the spoiler stuff. Like, you definitely talk about some of the parts you could use spoilers and stuff that you were like, hey, this is like a really cool thing, or maybe something that could have been done better.
Yeah. Main things I enjoy about this film, that it actually does have a plot,
Mhm.
and a good plot at that. In the movie, as you said, it does feel fast because it is it is progressing its plot. It's progressing its plot very well. It's not like other movies that like have a title character here and there's just too many jokes at the expense of that character, or they're dancing around and you're just supposed to enjoy that. Like, no, there's actually
Yeah.
something happening around him. um I did enjoy, yeah, Jason Marsden. I enjoyed that a lot. I did enjoy actually, they tried to give you emotional depth to to Marcus, to Onyx,
Oh yeah.
when he does give the he tells the box demon like his secret, which was like how he he wants to get with Gadget from Rescue Rangers, and he, you know, he's in love with that. But he then asks like, why did his father leave him, and so you see like the past of like his father. Oh yeah, and then Marcus is just, I guess I'm saying Marcus and Honor the same person. Marcus is his real name. um but he's obsessed with like, not SWAT cats, I forget what it's called. um
Battle. It's like Battle
Battle
Cats or
cats or
something.
something. Yeah, it's like SWAT cats essentially, or something. Or like He-Man, you know, like it's all the same stuff. But you see how Marcus was just like a normal kid until like he hears like his parents fighting, and he's like watching Battle Cats or whatever, and then his dad's leaving, and he's like, when are you coming back? And he's like, I don't know. And then that's where the I don't know tick comes from, and he's just like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And then he just turns into Onyx at that point. So it was interesting to give like a reasoning as to why he is the way he is. You don't really see that in these kind of films, to try to give a reason. You could just be like, oh, he's just a weird guy. But to try to give some emotional depth to that and empathy, it's interesting that they did that. I don't think it really worked necessarily, but I was proud of them for trying. um because it was a needed scene to see like, why does he think himself as so worthless? Why does he would rather do all this stuff, you know, compared to, I don't know, being good at school, or being good at his job, or being a normal person. um but yeah, I did enjoy that. I enjoyed, as you said, a lot of the special effects and stuff, the practical effects of the ghoul versions of people. They reminded me a lot of, yeah, I want to say, I said over the phone with you, they remind me a lot of Beetlejuice, but then they
Oh
also
yeah.
remind me of like Pee Wee Herman a little bit, like Large Marge and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, yeah, I could see
Um,
that.
just very practical, but like goofy practical, I would say. just on how the demon ghoul versions look, but also they're all unique. Like every single one
Mhm.
of them look different. Um, and so I thought that was really cool. Um, I thought that all the little, I don't know, there's just so many little things with this movie that I did enjoy. Um, that I don't know if I can necessarily like retort them again, but um when we find like the page, or we see like, you know, behind the curtain, behind the painting of Onyx actually discovering like, oh, he's killing people, and he cuts out the prophecy and all that of the fortuitous one. um I thought all that was really well done, because again, like giving the character actual purpose in the plot, instead of just having him be the joke character and
Mhm.
only the joke character. I think that worked really well here in their favor. Um, because again, I know I'm like repeating myself, but with these types of movies, I feel like um, you can have a movie of, here's blah 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 the character, but all the things are happening around them. Whereas here's Onyx the fortuitous one, the you know, here's him the character, but he is actively helping his destiny to save his friends, and he, I don't know, he's actually getting things done instead of just
Yeah.
being helpless. Like even at the end of it all, you know, like when it is just him and Mac, and he has to go to the cemetery, you know, he has to go complete um the actual prophecy and like jump into the hole and all of that. I love his little plastic lunchbox of the SWAT cats, whatever thing, battle cats. Because he's just, they're like, oh, yeah, at the very beginning as well, they're like, oh, didn't you pack a suitcase? He's like, no, everything I need is in here. And you're like, okay, dude. And like when he's talking about how he doesn't drink except like to loosen lips, like to get courage. And so like at the very beginning, when he's like at the table and he opens up his little lunchbox and he's just digging for like 30 seconds. He's just digging,
Yeah.
not looking. And like that joke got me. I think it went a little too long, but I think because it went too long, it got me. Where he's just like looking at people just like this, and then you just hear like like him like going through, and he finally finds it. It's a tiny wine, and he opens it up. He drinks a tiniest drop, and then he just puts it right back, puts it back. He's like, "All right, now I'll tell you my tale." Um, he's
I
he's hilarious.
I love that scene because one of the other characters, just Minder, she's like,
Oh, the
"Why do you
poem.
say I don't?" Yeah, he's like, "Why do you say like I don't know?" He goes, "I don't know." And then of course later, then they explain why
Yeah,
he does it. Um, you know, it's it's so well done with that. Um, everyone's telling their story, and they go into more depth. I think when you're talking about the scene that shows his dad, it kind of also like gives that, because obviously Onyx is the hero, right?
hmm,
So it gives him that. It reminds me of like Disney films where it's like we have a character that is a hero but doesn't know they're a hero.
yeah,
Something happens traumatically and then they become the hero. Um, you know, I think it's really well done in that aspect there. Uh, you know, I just going over some of the things you said, it kind of threw me off because we didn't need that, but we got it.
yeah,
Which I think it's important now that I go back and watch old Onyx stuff. Now I'm understanding why he does have that tick. So, um, and even the show he did on the Nerdist.
yeah,
Now I have like a context of like why he was this way.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, I mean, I guess I was kind of going away from like the ending or something, but like, do you want to talk about ending? Do you want to talk,
Yeah,
or
we
what
can
do you
talk
want
about.
to talk?
I mean, we can talk about the ending and like a general. We were talking the other day about it. It definitely leaves it open for a sequel,
Yeah.
which I really hope there is a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's writing and directing another just came out, a movie short.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would love for him to do another Onyx movie.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, this just blew up. You know what I really miss is in California where they're at. They were showing this in a theater.
Oh wow.
How cool! I'd have loved to seen this in the theater. You
Yeah.
know, I like I said, I bought the Blu-ray when he announced these signed Blu-rays. I'm like, I gotta have it.
Yeah.
Um, I just thought it was so cool, and that I mean, but yeah, if you want to go into a little bit of the definitely how that sets up for a sequel, and if there was a sequel, would you watch the sequel?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess kind of the ending. I mean, little cliff notes on that for you. But I guess a little bit of backstory as well. Farah for Bartok. I'm gonna say the mind taker or whatever. That's not him. That's another
No,
guy.
that's not it.
That's what do you call it? Harvey Birdman. Um, but Farah and Bartok, Farah, as far as I can understand, maybe is that she is like the daughter of the devil,
Mhm,
um, in that she is um basically cast as a slave for Bartok because the way that he summoned her or whatever. And so that's why she's trying to go against him and not tell him like the full thing of the prophecy of the fortuitous one about how in this prophecy only the fortuitous one can basically dive into hell and come out as a great warrior with the sword and everything. And then he's supposed to rule hell by the daughter's side and just be a king. Um,
mhm,
and so he tricks them into like stabbing him and all that, but it turns out he has a battle cat's special like green version of like one of those toys, and he's just
mhm.
instead of the normal crystal that it is. And so he got stabbed, which I'm shocked that he just didn't die from that because he got stabbed like in the heart, you know. But then he just kind of jumps into the portal, he comes out, and he has this huge sword. His clothes are burnt. You can see that he's still, as he said earlier, he's still wearing his Battle Cat's underwear from like years and years ago. So you can see that in full glory there. And he attacks um, Bartok a little bit, but then also um, Farah also attacks Bartok and severs his head. And then um she's like, all right, now Onyx, like you now you need to complete the prophecy. Now you need to marry me and rule over this. And he's like, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to choose my friends. And then he goes choose his friends, and he stabs them all as a skewer. And he's like, all right, we're going to skewer, everyone get in line. And so he stabs everyone with the sword, which then essentially gives them back uh their mortal beings. But because they're magical now as well, everyone just kind of is a magical being. So like everything
Yeah,
uh from their dreams and from the prophecy, like Mr. Duke is now actually just a werewolf. um Mac is just a witch, you know, like they're like just that kind of stuff. And so Onyx, yeah, chooses his friends instead of Farah, and then Farah just gets like really upset and just kind of disappears because the blood moon, whatever that's called, um, it like it closes. You know, it's no longer there. So the time of him completing prophecy. It's up, so then she has to leave, and so yeah, it does set up for that sequel where she's kind of like in her own little cabin, and she reanimates Bartok as a talking head, and which is what he threatened to do to her in like
Yeah,
halfway through or beginning of the film, where he's like, "Oh, I'll just do this," because she's like, "You can't kill a demon." He's like, "No, but I can sever your head, and you can just live in like a jar." Um, and so that's what's happening to him, and she's basically now his, or uh, she's his master. So he says, yeah, like, yes, master, or whatever. And the end of the movie ends with Onyx just like basically having a school of gifted people. It seems like, I guess I wasn't really sure of like what it was. It seemed like it was kind of like an orphanage, but it also wasn't. And so I don't really understand what that final place was, but there were just, all of them were just living in that manner.
yeah,
And they were talking about how like the children like to play or something like that. So I don't I don't know what he's doing. Like I don't know if this is him trying to be Charles Xavier and just like protect gifted people like this. But like yeah, his stepdad as well as his mom show up, and they all visit, and they're all kind of like freaked out but then happy that like he's like that he's happy. But then the stepdad, like near the end, is like one of the last lines where he's like, he's your kid or something like that, instead of like, I'm not related to this kid. um
yeah,
but I thought it ended a little too quickly, or a little too wrapped, bowed up, I feel. um but at the same time, I don't know what else you could do for something
yeah.
like an indie film like this. But again, like I did enjoy my time with this. I wasn't upset with the ending. I thought the ending was pretty good. It's just I didn't I didn't need the epilogue of them doing stuff. It's interesting that they gave it to me anyway. Um, I also don't like how there seems to be some sort of romantic relationship between Onyx and Mac, because we didn't really see that in the movie. Like it's just that she was they were nice to Onyx, but like that's about it. Like people were
Yeah,
just one of the few people that was nice to Onyx and like understanding. And so I mean, I guess maybe it's that not survivor's guilt, but like uh what's that called, where maybe it is a survivor's guilt, I guess, to a sense, where um they were all rescued, so maybe maybe Mac feels like, oh, I have these feelings now because you saved me from death. um I didn't really like that. But otherwise,
yeah,
like the rest of the ending and stuff, I was fine with.
yeah. I felt like they were all good friends now. Like one
Yeah,
thing that Onyx always wanted was friends.
yeah. But they
Um,
all danced together, and I think they kissed at the end too. And that's why I
yeah,
thought that didn't make sense. It didn't make sense for the story that they were telling.
yeah. And I know when Farah was in the shed with Bartok, uh, I think I'm not 100%, but didn't she make some sort of comment about going after Onyx?
Yeah,
And so that's why we thought sequel, right?
yeah.
Perfect setup. The two of them are going after Onyx. Um, overall, I thought the ending was it was like, let's tie everything up, end the film, done, right? Um, and so watching the credits was pretty good. There was the credits there. Uh, but yeah, I thought it was overall, I liked it. This is definitely my humor. Not too long ago, I watched Evil Dead 2, which is a remake of Evil Dead, and then Army of Darkness. And like
Hmm.
Army of Darkness is classic.
Yeah,
Uh, I felt like a lot of this humor was very Army of Darkness.
yeah.
Um, so so now comes the hard part. So we have at the Get Out of Gaming, we have a a 10-point scale.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to see, how you would rank this one, 1 through 5. You could do, 4.5, whatever you would like. Where would you review this at?
This is hard.
I that's why I went to you first because I think mine's pretty simple.
I don't think it's a 4. I think it's like a 3.5. Like I still I enjoyed this movie. I think this movie was great for what it was. It surprised me. Um but I don't think it's completely a 4. And so that's why I'm kind of like, it's more than on the middle, like that's why I feel like it's more of a 3.5 compared to a 4. um but yeah, I would say, yeah, 3.5 for me.
I'm going to go a little bit higher in 4, and my reasoning is for any movie I've ever watched, that for me it's got to keep me going. I've watched this a couple times and I've never had a problem even watching it again,
Mhm.
like being bored. Um, and so I like the story. I like the how it's filmed. I like the practical effects. I definitely think it's a 4
Mhm.
for me. Uh, and I'm excited to see if they do a second one, knowing that this did really well. Knowing like, hey, we got to kind of up the ante a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah.
Um, and if Andrew is watching this or listening to this and is like, hey, thanks for the feedback, we got to have more Todd in this one. I felt like
He's
you
barely in that film, and yet you keep talking about him like he's like the main character.
that whole exchange when they're like, F you this back and
Yeah.
forth, and then the mom's like, that's it, boys, let's breathe. And them doing it under their breath like that
Mhm.
is just so, it gave me like Step Brothers vibes,
Yeah.
like, which is one of my all-time favorite comedies. And so that's why I liked it so much. I just want to see what we could do with this character. And now that he lives in the mansion, where can we take Todd?
Yeah.
Uh,
Todd
you
be on
know,
the next adventure with him.
yeah, yeah. And so yeah, so definitely if you like this here, this is our bi-weekly podcast. We do this every other week with some crazy stuff, whether we have guests on the show, whether we're doing a ranking or talking about Onyx the Fortuitous. Definitely check us out. Like I said, we're on all major podcast places.
Yeah.
Uh, we want you on Spotify to go and add us as a follow, or on Apple iTunes as a follow. Uh, Trying to get to 1,000 followers on there and 1,000 followers on our YouTube. Excuse me. Um, we would really appreciate that. We're on a lot of social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Blue Sky. Definitely check us out there. Alex, do you have anything else to add?
Um Man, I was gonna say something like clever. Um Man, I should have been like, I don't know. I don't know. Uh
I,
yeah, but otherwise, just get at it, Get at it.
get at it.